President Helen Foster stood on the bridge of the flagship UN's Liberty and looked down at the Galactic Council chamber. Through the massive viewing windows, she could see alien delegates from dozens of worlds sitting in their curved seats, looked small and frightened. Some were whispering to each other. Others sat in complete silence. 3 days had passed since the human fleet had appeared. In those 3 days, the galaxy had changed forever. Every major military installation was under human observation. Every trade route was being monitored by human ships. Every government was trying to figure out what humans wanted. Helen was about to tell them. She walked down to the podium, where alien leaders had given speeches for thousands of years. Behind her stood Admiral John Hayes and Commander Lisa Brooks, no longer pretending to be helpless refugees. Around the chamber, other humans who had spent years in disguise now wore their real uniforms. Ambassador Kestar looked at Helen with his large reptilian eyes. His green scales had turned a dull gray color, which meant he was very worried. President Foster, he said carefully, we are honored by your presence. But we must ask, what do humans intend to do with us? Helen smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not particularly warm either. That is an interesting question, Ambassador. What do you think we should do? I do not understand. Let me explain something, Helen said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. For 300 years, you have been telling stories about us. You built monuments to our sacrifice. You taught your children that humans were noble heroes who saved the galaxy and then disappeared forever. She paused and looked around the room. Every alien delegate was listening carefully. But did any of you ever wonder why we left? Did you ever ask yourselves what we learned from fighting the Vex War? Kestar shook his head slowly. We learned that the galaxy is not very good at protecting itself, Helen continued. The Vex nearly destroyed everyone because alien governments spend more time fighting each other than watching for real threats. When the Vex came, half of you surrendered. Immediately, the other half ran away. General Nick Adams stepped forward and activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored areas representing different alien governments. This is what the galaxy looks like today, Nick said. 17 major powers, 43 minor governments, and over 200 independent systems. Every one of them has its own military. Every one of them considers the others to be potential enemies. The hologram changed to show fleet movements and border disputes. Red lines appeared wherever alien governments were fighting or preparing to fight each other. In the past year alone, Nick continued, there have been 47 armed conflicts between alien powers, 3 trade wars, 12 territorial disputes, and 1 full-scale invasion. Colonel Amy Peterson stood up from where she had been sitting as a diplomatic aide for 5 years. The alien delegates, who remembered her as a quiet young woman now, stared as she spoke with the authority of a senior military officer. The hegemony is building secret military bases in neutral space, Amy said. The Dominion is developing new weapons that violate 6 different treaties. The Azure Federation is planning to annex the Kepler system by force. Should I continue? The chamber fell silent. These were all secret plans that the aliens thought nobody else knew about. Helen nodded toward Dr. Ryan Clark, who had been watching from the Economic Advisors section, walked down to the podium carrying a thick folder. Dr. Clark has something interesting to show you, Helen said. Ryan opened the folder and pulled out a series of charts. These documents show what happens to the galaxy if your current conflicts continue. Based on resource consumption, population growth, and military spending, you will have a major war within the next 5 years. He showed them a chart covered in red lines and declining numbers. This war will involve at least 8 major powers. It will last approximately 15 years. The casualty estimate is 4 billion sentient beings. The alien delegates shifted, uncomfortably in their seats. Some of them made small, gasping sounds. But that is just the beginning, Ryan continued. While you are fighting each other, you will not be watching the galaxy's borders. Our long-range sensors have detected something moving in the void between galaxies, something big, something that might be even worse than the Vex. Helen took back the podium. So here's what humans have decided to do. We are going to prevent that war. We are going to stop you from destroying yourselves. And we are going to make sure the galaxy is ready when the next real threat arrives. Ambassador Kestar found his voice. You mean to conquer us? No, Helen said firmly. Conquest is what you do to enemies. You are not our enemies. You are our responsibility. She gestured toward the viewing windows where human ships could be seen patrolling the space around the station. Every human ship out there is equipped with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Our weapons are 3 generations ahead of yours. Our shields can stop anything you can shoot at us. Our sensors can detect ships hiding on the other side of a star. She paused to let that sink in. But do you know what we are not doing with all that technology? We are not taking over your governments. We are not stealing your resources. We are not forcing you to obey human laws. General Nick Adams stepped forward again. What we are doing is simple. We are stopping the stupid wars. When the hegemony moves those secret fleets toward Dominion space, we will be there to turn them around. When the Azure Federation tries to invade Kepler, we will politely escort their ships home. Colonel Amy Peterson nodded. We will also be sharing information. When we detect raiders attacking trade convoys, we will warn the convoy. When we spot pirates hiding in asteroid fields, we will tell local security forces where to find them. Dr. Ryan Clark held up another chart. We will also be coordinating disaster relief. When natural disasters hit your worlds, human ships will be there to help. When trade routes are disrupted, we will provide alternative solutions. Helen looked around the chamber one more time. In other words, we are going to do what we have always done. We are going to protect the galaxy. The only difference is that this time, you will know we are doing it. Ambassador Kestar was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, and if we refuse to accept this protection? Helen's smile became a little sad. Ambassador, you spent 300 years building monuments to human heroes. You told your children stories about the brave humans who saved everyone. You celebrated the noble phantoms who chose honor over power. She gestured toward the human officers standing around the chamber. Well, here we are. We are still the same people who saved you from the Vex. We are still choosing honor over power. The only difference is that now you can see us. She walked back toward the exit, then stopped and turned around. Oh, an ambassador, that monument you built in Central Plaza, who would like to change the inscription. Instead of phantom warriors who saved the galaxy and chose mystery over gratitude, we would prefer to the humans, still watching, still protecting, still choosing to be the guardians the galaxy needs. As the human delegation left the chamber, the alien delegates sat in stunned silence. Outside the windows, human ships continued their patrol routes. The galaxy had new guardians now, and unlike the old legends, these guardians were very, very real. Fleet Admiral Gary Nelson stood on the bridge of the UN's Liberty and watched as space itself seemed to tear open. The hyperspace portal was massive, bigger than any the galaxy had ever seen. Through it came the human fleet, ship after ship after ship, until the darkness around the Galactic Consul's homeworld was filled with human vessels. Gary had waited his entire life for this moment. His grandfather had been one of the original planners who decided that humans should disappear and build in secret. His father had commanded one of the hidden shipyards. Now Gary would be the one to announce that humanity had returned. The human fleet was enormous. 10,000 ships of every size and type. Fighters no bigger than cars flew alongside massive carriers that could hold entire armies. Battleships bristled with weapons that no alien had ever seen. Support vessels carried enough supplies to feed the fleet for years. But the most impressive thing about the fleet was not its size. It was how organized it looked. Every ship knew exactly where to go. Every captain had studied this moment for decades. The fleet moved like a single living creature, smooth and coordinated and utterly confident. On the council station, alarms started screaming. Ambassador Kestar ran through the corridors, his green scales now turning pale blue with fear. Burst into the control room where John Hayes and Lisa Brooks were supposed to be hiding with the other civilians. Instead, he found John wearing a crisp military uniform with admiral's insignia on his shoulders. Lisa stood beside him in the uniform. Of a naval commander? Both of them looked completely calm. Kestar gasped, pointing at John with a shaking finger. You are not refugees. You are not the last humans. You are military officers. John smiled. We tried to tell you that humans were still around, Ambassador. You just never listened. But you said your people were extinct. You said you were survivors. Living on our charity? You never said we were extinct. Lisa corrected him. You said that? We just never corrected you. Kestar's head spun as he tried to understand. The monument. The inscription about phantom warriors. You approved it. We thought it was very nice, John said. Humans do appreciate being remembered as phantom warriors. It made our job much easier. On the view screen, the human fleet finished. Moving into position? Every important military target in the system was now covered by human guns. Every escape route was blocked. Every communication relay was being monitored. Gary Nelson's voice came over the station's communication system. It was calm and polite, but everyone who heard it understood that this was not a request. This is Fleet Admiral Gary Nelson of the United Nations Space Command. To all alien vessels in this system, you will power down your weapons and remain in position. Any ship that tries to leave or fight will be disabled. We are not here to hurt anyone, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Paul Carter emerged from the maintenance tunnels of the Hegemony Military Academy, wearing full human combat armor. Behind him came a squad of human Marines who had been hiding in the tunnels for months. The Hegemony officers who had spent years unknowingly teaching Paul about their battle tactics now watched in shock as he took control of their entire facility. General Thorak, Paul said to the bear-like alien who had been his commanding officer. You remember me, right? Paul, the maintenance worker who fixed your air conditioning last month? General Thorak's fur stood on end. You are human, but humans are extinct. Funny thing about extinction, Paul said as his Marines efficiently disabled the Academy's defense systems. Sometimes it is just really good camouflage. The general looked around at the human soldiers who had appeared from nowhere. How long have you been here? 2 years, sir? I have to say your lectures on Thunderstrike formation were very educational. My people will find them useful. At the Dominion shipyard, Kate Morgan's tiny ship suddenly grew much larger. Had looked like space debris unfolded into a full-size stealth cruiser. Around the shipyard, 50 more human ships uncloaked at the same time. They had been hiding in the asteroid field for months. The Dominion workers stared in amazement as human ships surrounded their supposedly secret construction facility. Admiral Zephyr, the bird-like alien in charge of the shipyard, sent a panicked message to Kate's ship. Unknown vessels, this is a restricted military facility. You are ordered to leave immediately. Kate's reply was broadcast on all frequencies. Admiral Zephyr, this is Marine Sergeant Kate Morgan. I have been watching your shipyard for the past 3 months. Your new dreadnoughts have a critical design flaw in their power systems. Also, your security is terrible, impossible. This facility is completely hidden. Sir, I have detailed blueprints of every ship you are building. I know the work schedule of every construction crew. I even know that you like to eat fish cakes for lunch every Tuesday. The Admiral's feathers ruffled with shock. It was true. He did eat fish cakes every Tuesday. Dr. Ryan Clark walked into the Galactic Trade Commission building on New Geneva. He no longer wore the simple clothes of an independent researcher. Instead, he wore the uniform of a human economic warfare specialist. Behind him walked a team of human analysts carrying boxes of documents. Commissioner Valdick, a slug-like alien, who controlled most of the galaxy's trade regulations, slithered out of his office to meet them. What is the meaning of this intrusion? Valdick demanded. Ryan set down a thick folder on the commissioner's desk. These are detailed analyses of every major trade route, supply chain, and economic dependency in the galaxy. My team has spent 3 years mapping how your entire civilization gets fed, clothed, and armed. Valdick opened the folder and saw charts and graphs that showed things about galactic trade that even he did not know. How did you obtain this information? They asked nicely, Ryan said. You would be surprised how much people will tell you when they think you are just a boring economist. All across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human agents who had been hiding in plain sight for years suddenly revealed themselves. Space stations that thought they were secure found human troops already inside. Military bases discovered that their maintenance workers were actually enemy spies. Trade centers learned that their economic advisors had been mapping their vulnerabilities all along. The galaxy's communication networks buzzed with panicked messages. Every alien government was trying to figure out what was happening. How had an extinct race suddenly appeared with the largest fleet anyone had ever seen? How had they infiltrated every important facility without being detected? On the bridge of the UN's Liberty, Gary Nelson received reports from human forces throughout the galaxy. Every major strategic position was under human control. Shot had been fired. The galaxy's greatest military powers had been defeated by intelligence, patience, and superior planning. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving surrender offers from 14 different alien governments." Gary nodded. "Tell them we will consider their offers. But first, they need to understand something important. Humans never left the galaxy. We never disappeared. We just learned the value of being underestimated. The age of human legends was over. The age of human reality had begun." Captain John Hayes pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation window. Below him, the Galactic Council station buzzed with activity. Aliens from dozens of different worlds walked through the corridors. Some had scales, others had feathers. Some walked on 2 legs, others slithered on their bellies. But none of them looked like John. He was human. And as far as the galaxy knew, humans were extinct. Commander Lisa Brooks walked up beside him. She was the only other human on the station. Like John, she had dark hair and brown eyes. To the aliens, all humans looked the same anyway. They never bothered to learn the differences. "Another boring day in paradise," Lisa said quietly. She spoke English, a language that none of the aliens understood. It was their secret way of talking. John smiled. "Did you hear what Ambassador Kestar said yesterday? He wants to build a statue of humans in the main plaza." Lisa laughed softly. "A statue of the great human heroes who saved the galaxy and then disappeared forever." If only he knew, John said. The truth was simple. Humans had not disappeared. They had never left the galaxy. For 300 years, they had been hiding, building, planning, getting ready. The story the aliens believed was mostly true. 3 centuries ago, an alien race called the Vex had tried to destroy every living thing in the galaxy. They were like giant insects, but smart and cruel. Their ships could eat through metal. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. When the Vex came, most alien races ran away or surrendered. Only the humans fought back. Human ships were smaller and weaker than Vex ships. But humans were clever. They found ways to trick the Vex. They hit them where they did not expect it. They fought dirty and won clean. After 5 years of war, the humans finally beat the Vex. They drove them out of the galaxy. Every alien world celebrated. The humans were heroes. They had saved everyone. But then something strange happened. The human fleet just left. They flew away into deep space and never came back. The aliens waited for years, but no human ships ever returned. No human colonies were found. It was like the entire human race had vanished. The aliens made up stories about it. Some said the humans had sacrificed themselves to stop the Vex. Others said they had found a new galaxy to explore. The most popular story was that humans were too noble to accept thanks. They had saved everyone and then left because they did not want to rule over the people they had rescued. All of these stories were wrong. The truth was that humans had looked at the galaxy after the war and learned an important lesson. They had won the war because nobody expected them to be dangerous. The Vex had ignored human space because human ships looked weak. Other alien races had done the same thing for thousands of years, so the humans decided to stay weak-looking. They moved their real colonies to hidden star systems. They built new shipyards in places nobody would think to look. Sent small groups of humans, too, lived secretly among the aliens. These humans pretended to be the last survivors of their race. John and Lisa were 2 of these secret agents. For 5 years, They lived on the council station. Everyone thought they were refugees, poor humans with nowhere else to go. The aliens felt sorry for them and gave them jobs as cultural advisors. The job was perfect. As cultural advisors, John and Lisa got to sit in on important meetings. They heard about military plans. They learned about new weapons. They found out which alien races might cause trouble in the future. The aliens never suspected anything. Why would they? Humans were extinct heroes. These two were just the last sad remains of a great race. They were harmless. Ambassador Kestar walked toward them down the corridor. He was a Xanthari, which meant he looked like a tall lizard that walked on two legs. His scales were bright green today, which meant he was excited about something.
My
Human friends, Kestar said in his hissing voice, I have wonderful news to share with you. John and Lisa turned to face him. They both put on sad smiles. This was part of their act. They were supposed to be grateful but melancholy, happy to be alive but sorry that their people were gone. What news, Ambassador? Lisa asked. The council has voted. We will build a great monument to your people in Central Plaza. It will be made of the finest crystal from the Andorian mines. The inscription will read, To the phantom warriors who saved the galaxy and chose the honor of mystery over the burden of gratitude. John felt a tiny device vibrate against his wrist. It was a message from director Alex Turner, who was hiding somewhere in human space. The message was short. Phase 1 complete. Time for Phase 2. That is very kind, John said to Kestar. Our people would be honored. It is the least we can do, the ambassador replied. Your race gave everything to save us. The stories of human courage inspire children on every world. Did you know that young Xanthari now play games where they pretend to be human warriors? Lisa nodded. We are glad that our people are remembered well. More than remembered, Kestar said. Your people are legends, perfect legends, brave enough to save us all, wise enough to leave before power could corrupt them, a galaxy full of ambitious races fighting for control. Humans chose to be noble ghosts. After the ambassador left, John and Lisa walked back to their small apartment. It was designed to look poor and humble. The furniture was old. The walls were bare. Everything about it said that these were the last two members of a dead race, living on charity. But hidden behind the walls was the most advanced communication equipment in the galaxy. Every night, John and Lisa sent reports to the real human government. They told them everything they had learned. Which races were building new weapons, which planets had valuable resources, which trade routes were most important. They also sent personal messages to their families. John had a wife and 2 children, living on New Terra, a hidden human colony. Lisa had parents and a brother on Haven Station, which officially did not exist. How much longer do you think we have to keep this up? Lisa asked, as she started typing her daily report. John looked at the message from Director Turner again. Phase 2 meant that the real human fleet was getting ready to reveal itself. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humans had never left. They had been watching and planning for 300 years. Not much longer, John said. Maybe 6 months, maybe less. I almost feel sorry for them, Lisa said, nodding toward the window. Where alien ships move back and forth across the stars, they have no idea what's coming. John thought about the massive human fleet hidden in secret bases throughout the galaxy. 10,000 ships, weapons and technology far ahead of anything the aliens had. Soldiers trained in secret for generations. All of it invisible to the outside galaxy. The aliens thought humans were legends. They were right. But legends, John knew, sometimes came back to life, and when they did, the galaxy would never be the same again. Lieutenant Paul Carter crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel beneath the Hegemony Military Academy. The metal was cold against his hands and knees. He had been doing this job for 2 years now, and his body knew every inch of these tunnels. Above him, alien soldiers were learning how to fight wars. They studied battle plans and practiced with weapons. They had no idea that a human was listening to every word they said. Paul wore the gray uniform of a maintenance worker. His tool belt held real repair equipment. His work orders were genuine. As far as everyone knew, He was just another boring alien who fixed broken pipes and cleaned air filters. The disguise was perfect because nobody ever really looked at maintenance workers. The hegemony aliens looked like large bears that walked on two legs. They had thick fur and sharp claws. Their homeworld was cold and harsh, which made them tough fighters. They controlled 15 star systems and had the second largest fleet in the galaxy. Paul pulled out a small device and pressed it against the wall. The device could hear through solid metal. On the other side of the wall, a hegemony general was teaching young officers about something called the Thunder Strike Formation. "Remember," the general growled in his deep voice, "when we attack in Thunder Strike Formation, we send our heavy cruisers first. They draw enemy fire while our destroyers circle around the sides. The enemy always focuses on the big ships and forgets about the small ones coming from behind." Paul smiled and pressed a button on his device. The lesson was now recorded and would be sent to human intelligence later. This was exactly the kind of information his people needed. On the other side of the galaxy, Marine Sergeant Kate Morgan floated in the darkness of space. Her ship was so small that it looked like a piece of space junk. Advanced stealth technology made it invisible to most sensors. She had been hiding in this asteroid field for 3 months. Through her telescope, Kate watched the Dominion shipyard. The Dominion aliens looked like tall birds with colorful feathers and sharp beaks. They were proud and thought they were smarter than everyone else. Their shipyard was building new Dreadnought-class battleships that were supposed to be the most powerful vessels ever made. Kate counted 12 dreadnoughts under construction. Each one was the size of a small city. Their armor was thick enough to stop most weapons. Their guns could destroy other ships from very far away. The Dominion planned to use these ships to expand their territory, but Kate could see things that the Dominion builders could not. Human technology was more advanced than anything the aliens had. Kate's sensors could detect weak spots in the dreadnought design. She could see that their shield generators were poorly protected. She could tell that their engines would overheat if pushed too hard. Every day, Kate sent reports to Human Command. She told them about the ship's weaknesses. She counted how many were finished and how many were still being built. She took pictures of new weapon systems and sent detailed measurements of armor thickness. The Dominion workers had no idea they were being watched. They thought their shipyard was perfectly hidden and completely secure. They were wrong. Dr. Ryan Clark sat in a small office on the trade hub of New Geneva. His desk was covered with papers and computer screens. To anyone who looked, he was just an independent researcher studying galactic economics. He wrote boring reports about trade agreements and shipping costs. Nobody paid much attention to boring economists. But Ryan was not really studying economics. He was mapping the galaxy's entire supply system. Every cargo ship that brought food to alien colonies. Every factory that made weapons for alien armies. Every mine that dug up metals for alien shipyards. Ryan tracked all of it. He had learned that the Carillion Empire got 90% of its food from 3 farming worlds. If those worlds stopped sending food, the entire empire would be hungry within a month. He had discovered that the Azure Federation's weapon factories all depended on rare metals from a single star system. Cut off that system, and they could not build new guns. Ryan's work looked boring, but it was actually very dangerous to the aliens. He was finding out how to break their entire civilization without firing a single shot. Humans called this economic warfare, and Ryan was the best. Added in the galaxy, his computer beeped with a new message. A trade convoy had just arrived from the Outer Rim. Ryan pulled up the shipping manifest and started reading. The convoy was carrying industrial equipment to 3 different hegemony worlds, but the equipment was not for factories or mines. It was for building military bases. Ryan marked this information as urgent and sent it to human intelligence. Somewhere, generals would read his report and understand what the hegemony was planning. Maybe they would send more spies like Paul Carter to watch those new bases. Back on the council station, John Hayes and Lisa Brooks continued their daily routine. They attended meetings as cultural advisors. They smiled sadly when aliens talked about the great human heroes of the past. They acted grateful for the charity that kept them alive. But every night, They received secret reports from humans like Paul, Kate, and Ryan. Hundreds of human agents were scattered across the galaxy. Each one was gathering a small piece of information.
Together.
Those pieces formed a complete picture of alien military strength and weaknesses. Lisa read through the latest intelligence summary. Paul had learned about 6 new hegemony battle formations. Kate had discovered that the Dominion's new dreadnoughts had a critical flaw in their power systems. Ryan had mapped the supply lines for 12 different alien governments. "Our people are doing good work," Lisa said to John. John nodded. 300 years of preparation. We know everything about them, and they know nothing about us. The next morning brought exciting news from Admiral Susan Baker. Her message was encoded in what looked like a grocery list. But John and Lisa could read the real meaning. The hidden human fleet was almost ready. Ships that had been built in secret were moving to their attack positions. Soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment were getting ready for battle. But it would not be a battle. Like the galaxy expected, when humans finally revealed themselves, they would not need to fight. They already knew how to win without shooting. They had spent 3 centuries learning every secret their enemies had. The aliens still thought humans were legends. Stories, told to children about heroes who had vanished long ago. Soon, they would learn that some legends never really die, just wait for the right moment to return. And that moment was coming very soon.